So the example call that I'm using is one between myself and Sumitra, who is on the call here. Sumitra is one of our engineers at AutoHive. And the call was an opportunity for Sumitra to show me a bunch of real cool agents that she built for a friend who is hosting an event, a track day event for his birthday. So Sumitra's helping them with some marketing stuff by building some real cool agents. So that's what this call was that I'm going to use as the example. So to build it, I'm inside this workspace called Drone Zone. And if you're not familiar with the concept of workspaces yet in AutoHive, I think about them as like a project level thing. It's not like Slack where they use the word workspace to talk about a business. I think about workspaces like individual projects. So I've got a workspace here called Drone Zone where I'll do the demo. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to Browse Agents, and I'm going to find Queen Bee, which is a prompt engineering agent that helps to write system instructions for new agents. So instead of you having to think through all of the instructions you want to give an agent in order for it to do a really good job, you can just have a natural language conversation with Queen Bee, and Queen Bee will write the instructions for you. So I'm just going to prompt Queen Bee using my voice so you don't have to watch me type. I'm just going to hold down a hotkey so I can talk to the agent. Okay, I would like to build an agent, so I need you to write me the instructions for an agent that uses the Gong tool and the Gmail tool. And it should get the latest transcript from Gong and help me to draft follow-up emails. So I've kind of been deliberately vague there. We're going to start with something relatively simplistic. Things might go wrong here when we try and use this agent, and I kind of want that to happen. And we'll fix as we go. And I'll probably come back to Queen Bee to do that. So we'll see what happens. It might ask me some follow-up questions here first. Cool. So it's asking some questions. What type of follow-up emails? What's your role, industry context? Do you have specific preferences? Should the agent automatically send, and any specific Gong transcript elements you want prioritized? So right now, rather than answering these questions perfectly, I'm going to be vague and let's see what we get out. And yeah, I guess demonstrate the power of giving it all the right context. I just want to be able to unpack the key talking points, any specific follow-ups that need to happen, and any action items out of the emails. Thanks. I haven't really answered the questions at all, but it should take that as enough information now to give us some system instructions. So now it's writing out instructions and it puts them inside one of these code blocks. You don't need to worry too much about that. It's just a nice structured way for the language model to be able to read the instructions nice and neatly. So if you see the amount of detail we're getting here, even from something deliberately vague that I gave it, you can see the power of using a prompt engineer to write your instructions. It's writing a lot, and to be honest, sometimes more is not always better. It depends on the agent that you're building and the importance of its output. Is it public facing, for example, or is it internal? Yeah, so it's horses for courses. I would sometimes ask it to be less verbose. It depends, but we'll use these for now. I would also always read through these completely, but right now we don't need to do that. I'll just hit copy in the top corner. So now I'm going to create a new agent, and we'll choose a profile picture, Gong follow. For the model, I'm going to choose one of the Anthropic models, 3.7 Sonnet. You can try any model, obviously. You don't, for a use case like this, we probably don't need a massive reasoning model. So I would choose something deliberately a little bit smaller or a little bit less token intensive. I also find that the Anthropic models are quite consistent in terms of how they use tools and how they structure tool calls. So when it tries to get stuff from Gong or do something in Gmail, tends to be quite consistent, where I've found GPT-5 is pretty good, but some other models, 2.5, Gemini 2.5 Pro can sometimes trip over when it's trying to use a tool. Okay, so I've just come down. I'll just do that again quickly. I just came to add integrations and agents, and I'm going to select Gong, and we'll keep all of those tasks or capabilities, and I'll also give it Gmail. So when Gong is publicly available, you probably will be prompted, like I'm being prompted here with Gmail, to authenticate it into your own account. But because it's currently just an internal tool, it's pre-authenticated for us. But you will probably go through this same authentication process. I'm going to authenticate Gmail just for this workspace. So let me just do that. And which one? Yeah, I'm going to use this one. Cool. So we've got the instructions that Queen Bee gave us. We can fill in this as well, hours saved per conversation. Then you see in the dashboard how much you've used the tool and how much time it's saved you. You don't have to fill this in, but it's quite cool to see. I will turn off search the workspace content folder because it doesn't really need that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to share it just to the workspace that I'm currently in. Cool. Okay, so I'll prompt this and ask it to get the transcript of the call between Sumitra and I. And we'll just kind of see what it does, because I haven't read those instructions carefully enough to know whether it's going to automatically send a follow-up or it might just ask me, what do you want in the follow-up? Let's wait and see. Okay, can you go to Gong, please, and grab the latest transcript from Gong, and then we'll draft a follow-up. Oh, whoops, I clicked out of that box there. Sorry, Lauren, I've seen your question. I'll grab that in just a sec. Can you just go to Gong and grab the latest transcript, please, and we'll work on drafting an email follow-up together. Okay, whilst that's doing that, let me grab your question, Lauren. So Lauren's asked, do you recommend reviewing Queen Bee's output quite closely before copying and pasting? Yeah, 100%. If I was using Queen Bee to create an agent for really for anything, I would read them really carefully. And you can also, and I'll probably do this in a minute, you can give the instructions back to Queen Bee and say, it's doing this thing, but I wanted it to do it like this, or it's not doing this thing. Can we make it do that? And then Queen Bee will redraft and it'll give you like a version 2. Okay, so we've got a transcript analysis, track day event, how Sumitra has been using AutoHive. So it's grabbed the right transcript, it's accurately summarizing it. It's retrieving, so already, right, it's doing, I was going to say it's doing more than we want it to, which is kind of what I wanted it to do for the demo. But it has actually stopped short of sending it, which is cool. I wasn't sure if it was going to use the Gmail tool and send it straight away. But I'm happy enough with that. So let's say, yes, please send this email to Sumitra. Now, the next thing that might go wrong here, which I've noticed with Gong, is it isn't always aware of the email address of the guests that were in the meeting. It knows the names because I've changed the speakers to the right names, but this email might bounce. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, so it's had a guess. It's guessed at the email address. So the way that I would fix this is potentially I would give it the calendar tool. We could try that really quickly. If I give this a calendar tool, I can say, find the latest transcript, and then use the calendar tool to find that event in my calendar, find the guests who were there, and then find the email address of the person that we're following up with. So that would get us around this problem. It does seem a bit crazy to me that Gong doesn't have that email address information, but let's quickly give it the calendar integration and we'll see if we can make it do that. Yes, you definitely could connect HubSpot. I did think about doing that for this call, but I didn't want to let it go running wild inside our HubSpot. So let's try calendar and see if it works. And I'm going to authorize this to my other account because that's the account that had the meeting. Otherwise, the agent won't be able to find it if I authorize it to the demo one. Now, what I would also normally do is give the instructions back to Queen Bee and say, can you instruct this agent that it now has the calendar tool as well? But I'll just ask it to go and have a look. Let's see. Okay, you now have the Google Calendar tool as well. So could you look back through my calendar and find the event where this call happened and find the guests and find the email address for Sumitra from that event, please, and then send this email to that email address. This is quite interesting, right? Because sometimes, and when I was testing this earlier, it it told me really confidently that it had drafted the email and I could go and find the draft. And when I looked, there was no draft there, but it had sent it to Sumitra. So you've just got to be careful of having an agent talk to you confidently, like it's done exactly what you've asked, when actually sometimes it hasn't at all. It looks like it's used the calendar tool correctly. It's found the right email address this time. Cool. And now it looks like it's worked. Let's have a look. That looks like the right one. Aha. So there's the next thing you would want to fix, right? It's not writing a very pretty email. So I'll quickly run through that with Queen Bee. So I'll grab these instructions. I'll just hit copy and I'll go back to Queen Bee and I'll use the same conversation so that it has a little bit of context. And I would say, okay, this agent is working well, but when it writes emails, it seems to be writing them in a fairly unstructured markdown, and it's really difficult to read. So can you add to these instructions to make sure that this agent writes pretty and readable emails, please? So when it's transcribed what I've just said, I'm going to paste in the instructions and hit send, and then it should give us a version 2. Cool. So it's telling us that it's understood. I'll enhance the agent's instructions to ensure it creates beautifully formatted, highly readable emails. So that's a bold promise. So in the interest of time, let's assume that it's going to write really nice emails from here. I'll grab, when this is finished, I'll grab these instructions and I'll paste them into the follow-up agent. The last couple of points I would make from a building this solution perspective is thinking about ways to further automate it, right? Because when you've just had the meeting, you might want the first draft of the email to just happen. So you could run it on a schedule, maybe where it checks every 2 hours your Gmail inbox for a new email with a subject line that contains the word Gong, which is then going to allow it to go and get the transcript. In the thread, it could run through the transcript and draft the first draft of the email. And you could even give it a Slack tool as well and send the first draft to Slack. So you would get a notification in Slack, and then you can come back to the app and say, yeah, I'm happy with that, or change this because you spelled a couple of things wrong, and then send. So there's a couple of ways there that you could automate this a bit further. The last thing that you could also do is instead of having the follow-up agent write the email, it could use a tool to write the email like a brand voice agent. So in one of these previous sessions, we built a brand voice agent, and I've built a bit of a silly one as a laugh. So you can see the power of using a brand voice agent to do it. Let's publish that one into here. So I've got a brand voice agent that talks like Gollum, so you can see really clearly whether it uses it or not when we instruct it to. I'm just going to put those new instructions from Green Bee in, which I've just copied. So those are now in. In order to allow this to use that agent to send the to allow this agent to use the brand voice agent to write the follow-up, I'm just going to go to the agents tab in the capabilities section and select Gollum's brand voice and press update. And now if I come back to the same conversation, I should be able to say, okay, thank you. Can you redraft that email using your Gollum's brand voice agent tool, please? So obviously, very few use cases for a Gollum's brand voice agent, but you could have a brand voice agent for your own brand or for yourself, and then it will write in your style, so that again you're taking some steps out of the process. You don't have to then go back to the email and change the introduction because it says hey there and you prefer to say hi there or something. So yeah, it's just another powerful way to further automate and take some steps out of the process. So hopefully, yeah, here we go. This is the Gollum version of the same email. Precious Dimitri, we thanks as you. That's pretty good, I reckon. Now I'm not sure whether it will have gone as far as sending it. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, so it's asked me at the end, would you like me to send it? So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so if you build something like this, think about the ways that you could use other integrations, other existing tools to make the process as smooth as possible for following up. Remember, you've got the calendar tool if you're in the Gmail environment. There's Outlook tools now as well if you're in the Microsoft environment. And you can use those to match things from the Gong transcript or from Gemini or whatever tool you use to record. And then further automate the process to follow up really quickly and make your life a bit smoother and a bit easier.